What's up, my beautiful, diverse American people? It's fall, and it's time to hit the gridiron and take the gloves off. I've been saying no more tiptoeing. No more tiptoeing around the issues that got us here. Steve Bilko said, the most powerful weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And that's how obvious, malevolent people get seemingly good, normal, caring human beings to think what they're doing is right. It's funny that, oh, it's actually not funny, it's sad, that a nation that at some point decided it would be a good idea to profit off of educating its own people is embroiled in a huge problem with ignorance, hatred, and resentment for basic intelligence, for basic common sense, for the things that made America the greatest nation in the world, which was the fact that we were the good guys. We did not align with Belarus, with North Korea, with Russia, with Erdogan, with Putin. That's not who we were. We were the good guys. So, because of weaponization of ignorance and hatred, malevolent people have taken office. Good people, intelligent people, sharp people didn't have time to run for office. They were busy running their businesses. They were busy being successful. They were busy doing what they do. So what happened? The malevolent, the nothing to do, the I hate everybody crowd began to run for office and began to win in places where nobody was basically taking the time to run. So this underbelly of ignorance and hatred began to take hold. We need to end the ideology, the ignorant ideology. Excuse me, I've been losing my voice. We need to end the ignorant ideology of giving more to those with more and less to those with less. When you even hearing it like that, it sounds ridiculous. But that's exactly what we've been doing. Giving more to those with more and taking more from those with less is the governance of ignorance and hatred for basic Americans that we're seeing. So I have some solutions. They're saying that crime is the big problem. Crime, we're doing it about crime. We're doing it about making you safe. Who doesn't want to be safe? That's the tool that they use, that every fascist, every dictatorship has weaponized your safety, making you safer from that brown person, from that Jewish person, from that a different religion, that Muslim person, that person that speaks a different language, to make you safer from them. Because let me tell you something. militarizing cities is not making anything safer. It's not making anyone safer. It's doing the opposite. It's lowering our knowledge that our military is there to protect us, not to attack us. And if the state's militia, which is the National Guard, can be weaponized by a dictator against those very citizens, that's not for safety. If you want safety, here's what you do. Here's my idea. Here's my take on it. You empower people. You stop weaponizing poverty against people. Because the policies that created the homelessness are yours, are your capitalistic policies of all or nothing, of compliance or nothing. We were a nation that innovated, that invented, that created everything for the world. We knew that other countries could manufacture things better than us because they had the manufacturing in place. But the creative engine of the world has always been America. And we've lost that. We've lost that. In fact, we're now going to rely on AI to be that for us, to be that engine of creativity, to be that driving force. So they want to make you irrelevant. And the bottom line, guys, is that AI uses our knowledge, uses our intelligence, uses our wisdom, uses our stupidity, our ignorance to formulate what it does. Those are the tools. Humanity is the data. So it's just another tool that we can use for our benefit. But malevolent forces can absolutely use it against us. And that's what we're seeing. We've created the opportunity for malevolent forces to weaponize technology against us. That is who these beta boy, the tech bros, and this content will probably, as all my stuff is, limited, restricted, not shared, not recommended, which is the term they use for we're censoring your content. So I know, and I need to thank every single one of you guys that share, that promote, that send out the content of regular, real Americans like me. And in case you guys don't know, I'm George Delara. I want to be your next president. I'm not a billionaire, not a millionaire, not a career politician, not a lawyer. I'm a regular American just like you. I'm a regular American who has lived the American struggle, who has had to make those decisions at the supermarket, going in with 20, 30 bucks to feed a family of 4. And not for one day, for a couple of days. And have to not put gas in your car because you got to buy food for your family. And having to make those decisions between rent and car insurance and electricity and water, which none of these beta boy brigade who fell ass backwards into wealth, they inherited their wealth, then declared themselves geniuses because they had surplus of money that they could go around and buy whatever they want. That's not genius. That's why I say when I'm your president, I have zero interest and making any money outside of the $400,000 a year, because that will be the best motherfucking paying job I've ever had. And I guarantee you that I'm going to work like it's the best motherfucking job I've ever had. Because that's what the American people deserve. Not somebody who knows they are going to grift billions out of your pockets and then can donate the $400,000 to charity. That's not good. That's not being generous. That's not being good, a good human being. That's being a con man. Because every grift starts with doing something good. That's what they want you to believe. That's how they grift. But I digress. Solutions is what we need. All right. So this whole problem with homelessness, with vagrancy, with what they want to call criminal, is something that they have had a hand in fabricating. So we're going to make them pay for that. Since they are so against homelessness, we're going to make sure that there is no homelessness. So it starts by taxing the billionaires. And my first executive order will be that any billionaire who removes 1 cent out of U.S. banking will have their wealth confiscated, and they will lose all opportunity to do business in this country. Because whether they want to acknowledge it or not, every dollar that a billionaire has come out of your pockets. You've bought their products. You've ordered their goods. You've patronized their businesses. Because they didn't fabricate the money. They didn't print it on a printing press. Came out of your pockets. Came out of your sweat. Came out of your work. So why shouldn't you benefit from your work? From your sweat? Only they get to do it. So we're gonna make changes. I'm gonna make changes. There's a quote in the Bible, because they love quoting the Bible, and it says, "He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be the servant to the wise." And that's what we have. We have someone creating trouble in his house, in our house. Just creating trouble for the sake of creating trouble. Because let me tell you, if it were about crime, instead of weaponizing and sending military and using ignorance and hatred towards your people, why don't you better fund those communities with the crime? Put police stations right on those street corners where the crime is happening. Open little satellite stations. Community driven. Create empowerment. Fund empowerment into those communities where a teenager can come in to get a few bucks to buy those sneakers by working on something and learning a trade, instead of thinking he has to go out and steal it because that's the only way he's going to ever have those sneakers. Because of your system and your policies in those communities. So we're going to do things differently. We're going to use love and intelligence instead of ignorance and hatred. And here's another one of my outside of the box thinking that can go a long way towards solving crime, empowering communities, and eliminating the military attacks on our neighborhoods and on our families. Here's an idea. When you get a grant from the federal government to go to school, to learn, when you get a scholarship from a university to learn whatever trade, career, profession you choose, when you graduate, you have to dedicate 2 years to public service. And it's not an unheard of thing. It's already done, because when I was in medical school, I was already being spoken about and talk of nominating me for a program that would pay for you to become a doctor based on your promise of working in impoverished and need-based communities wherever you're sent. Could be in the U.S., could be in another country, could be wherever, but the program pays for you to become a doctor. So why can't we do things like this and have our graduates have to spend 2 years with the local police department? Not civil service, not making them soldiers, making them part of their communities. So they learn community policing. So they learn to see the problems from the law enforcement and community improvement aspect than just from the being criminalized aspect or treated like a criminal aspect. Number one, it stops the need of scraping the bottom of the barrel. Because look, guys, I have a lot of friends who've been police officers, who've served, who are now retired. Some were injured and hurt on the job. Some are still serving today. Great guys, salt of the earth, intelligent human beings. But even these guys admit that they work with a lot of morons. That they work with a lot of guys, with a lot of people who should not be carrying guns and should not be empowered to use force on a community. Because a lot of these were the guys who got slapped around every day in middle school, who were treated awful and were abused and were beaten and were bullied all their lives, weren't smart enough to go to college, weren't smart enough to get a job or career or learn a trade, so they had no other choice than to either join the military or become police officers. I'm not saying all of them, but they're there. And we see it. We see it. Uvalde, we saw 60 of them. Cowards. Not one who would take the initiative to go save children because they don't have the brain power. So if we bring our top college graduates, our top high school graduates to serve a couple of years in law enforcement, I think it's going to go a long way to preventing crime in those communities, because those are the very young people who later go wrong. So let's not make criminals out of them. Let's create programs where through our education system, graduates need to serve a couple of years in their local communities, in their neighboring, in their state's community. Not National Guard, not military, policing. If you studied mental health, you're going to go into mental health through the police department. I think it's going to go a long way instead of having to constantly scrape the bottom of the barrel. Yes, we do get great people who become police officers, no question about it. But because there isn't a high level of desire out there for people to become police officers, they have to. They have no choice than to scrape the bottom of the barrel and bring in people with the hopes that a little training and a little goodwill will make them assets to these communities. And sadly, that doesn't work. That doesn't work all the time. It has worked. There are successes. But overall, I think we can do much better. So that's just one of the ideas that I want to explore when I'm president. Just like the idea of, instead of threatening and making your higher learning institutions cower to beta boys, brigade who fell ass backwards into wealth and think they're smarter than everybody else and say they're smarter than everybody else because that's the only way they're going to ever have that mention about them. Instead of threatening our universities and our higher learning institutions and taking away their funding, wouldn't it be a lot smarter to have them build housing, training, and education centers right at the border? There are countries all over the world that need trained workforces. And these are people looking for opportunities, looking to be able to learn a trade, start a business, learn a career to make their lives better. So why can't we provide those right there? And then have those countries pay for that training and that education that we're providing? Because we can ask the countries, what do you want? What services do you need? And we can build from there. So these are these ideas that we need to fix. Social Security is another big problem. It's about to run out of money. It's about to run out of money. Oh my God, Social Security is about to run out of money. They want to make it go away. They want to make it like the stock market. They want to put it make it private. All to be stolen from easier. So my solution, raise the cap. That alone will take care of 95% of the problem. And then we're going to tax the wealthy. Tax the corporations, who right now are not paying anything. We're going to fix that problem. I'm going to fix that problem. And the big one, that will go a long way towards ending homelessness, ending hunger, ending mental illnesses, at least being able to get the treatment and help that people need. And that is to tax the churches, who are political institutions, not religious institutions. There are churches out there where you walk into and the first thing you're going to see is a campaign flag for a right-wing politician. That's not a church. If your minister is telling you who to vote for, that's not a church. So they're going to pay taxes. So that alone is going to go a long way towards ending homelessness, ending hunger, ending the issues that those very churches ignore and don't want to address. They have a little once a year food drive or something just to meet the requirement of the 501(c)(3). So they're going to be taxed. And it's going to be done by an executive order to do forensic accounting over the past 30 years of these mega churches. That's how we save Social Security, save our country from homelessness and hunger, instead of weaponizing, criminalizing despair that you created. We're going to do things differently. Now, you heard overnight the CDC. They're firing the director of the CDC that they themselves appointed, because she's not going to go along with beta boy brigade mumbo jumbo non-scientific ignorance. She's not willing to do that. So they fired her. They want to fire her. Which pretty much says that whoever is put in, just like the jobs person, any report now coming, you cannot trust. It's fabricated for the regime. Because they are openly telling you that the truth of the matter, that if we don't like the numbers, you're going to lose your job, that if you don't follow whatever we say, you're going to lose your job. So it's not about health. It's not about intelligence. It's not about crime. It's not about the American people. It's about profiting and taking from you. Because these are not good people. These are not good people. Good people have not run for office over the past 20, 30 years. They haven't. They've been busy running their business. They've been busy being good people. So only the malevolent, the I have nothing to do, that I hate everybody crowds have infested public offices everywhere, school boards. People who are smoking meth, taking roofies, not 5 years ago, are sitting on school boards making decisions about your children. Ignorance and hatred is our biggest problem. Ignorance and hatred towards regular Americans is the problem. So, like I said, I am the first person to aspire to be president who would represent every single one of you by my blood, by my DNA. That clearly shows I'm white, black, Latino, Native, European, African, South American, Central American, Caribbean, Iberian, European. In my blood, proven by my DNA. We've never had that. We've never had a president directly out of we the people. I have no resources, zero, to mount a campaign, to buy airspace, even to promote these videos, because several 100,000 people have listened to my videos, have watched, have heard my words, have shared, because I'm not paying the oligarchs to promote my words. I'm not doing this for me. I do it because I love my country. That's it. That's the only motivation. I'm a brown, poor, marginally educated, marginally successful, marginally talented American who knows we the people can do better than what we're seeing. We the people can do better than what we're getting. Simply by using love and intelligence for each other instead of ignorance and hatred for the people who grow your food, who slice your meats, who fix your cars, who build your homes, who tend your gardens, who love you. Ignorance and hatred towards them is not going to make your life better. And here's another, kind of, I guess, to me, to you guys might be a crazy and impossible idea, but just think of this. You're the head of a military that has spent a decade making sure that everybody in your military only speaks English, only understands your languages, and can only follow your orders. Sounds powerful, right? Now, you're attacked by, let's say, Mexico. A country that its army speaks English and can communicate in a language that your army doesn't understand. Are you a stronger army? Or are you a beta bitch, moron barking puppy dog brigade? So the lack of diversity is not a strength. Your monolinguistic army is not equipped to deal with a multicultural, multi-language, multi-powerful army of a country that embraces its diversity, like nature itself. Because the strongest and most healthy ecosystems, be it a stream, a river, an ocean, a forest, a garden, a drop of water. Its health and strength is because of its diversity. So denying diversity is denying nature. And you think that's intelligence? You think denying nature is smart? You see the disconnect. And you see the problem. Ignorance and hatred. Beta Boy Brigade fell ass backwards into wealth and declared themselves genius. And you believed it. You believed because they can buy the airspace, they can buy the media, they can get out the sound bites like I can't, like you can't, like your dad can, like your mom can, like your grandmother can, like your sister can't, who have the right heart and have the right idea about we the people, meaning all of us, about the strength of a nation being in its diversity, the power and strength of a military is in it being diverse and being able to defend from all types of threats. Not a monolinguistic, monosyllabic, slap-jawed, mumbo-jumbo, white nonsense military that does nothing but make you weak and pathetic. Like the barking ignorance trying to sell you. So we the people, guys, we the people, we need a president directly out of we the people, because sincerely, I don't think it's possible from within the politics and the political in Washington, D.C. right now. I'm not saying I'm not going to need great politicians, which there are in both parties. Because I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a communist, I'm not a socialist, I'm not a libertarian. I'm an American. And if you don't understand that, then you're a fucking moron. And you feel better assigning some kind of a little tag or a little description so it processes in your little head as to who or what I am. I want American diversity and American freedom to be the number one driving forces for this country, like we did, like we were heading, like we were doing. Not perfectly, but we were actively trying to love each other. Didn't matter who you were, where you were from, what your nationality from. Nobody cared how you came into the country. People cared about who you were. The content of your character was really becoming the driving force of America. And then we were attacked. We lost that sense of security that we would never be attacked. And that began to erode that, oh, they can't do that. They can't do that. He can't do that. It no longer applies. For him to not do that, for him to not be able to do that, for he can't do that to apply, he would have to respect our Constitution, would have to respect our country, our nation. And they don't. They don't think America's a democracy. They don't think the founding fathers, those three words, we the people, they don't think it included all of us. And it probably didn't when they did it, but in their vast brilliance. They didn't write we the white people. They didn't write we the Christians. They didn't write we the landowners, we the slave owners, because they all were. All of those things. In their vast brilliance, they wrote we the people bigger than everything else. That wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't a sentence starter. That wasn't to make the document look pretty. That was because they knew the power and strength of their nation was in we the people. United, that other big word they want you to ignore. Because they could have named it the individual states of America, the separate states of America, the single states of America, because they were writers. It's not like they had a lack of words, a lack of ability to come up with just the right word to name their country. And they did. They found just the right word, and that was united. Because it's one nation. Yes, they gave the states the power to prevent kings, to prevent dictators. That's why the states have power. Not for them to each do their own thing, because we don't have a communist state, a socialist state, a Muslim state, a Catholic state, a Christian state. We have American states. The states cannot do their own things. They all can customize the democracies to fit their populations, to fit their cultures, their diversities. But they can't go out and do their own thing. Florida can't say, we're going to be a communist nation now. And Georgia can't say, well, we're going to be a Christian state. Can't. It's one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. They want you to ignore that stuff. They want you to ignore that because they are beta boy barking cowards who fear everyone. And mostly they fear women, guys. Our ladies, you know how much power you have. You don't know how much power you have because you are what they fear most. You are who they are terrified of. Your beauty, your strength, your power, your words. Alpha women terrify them. They want submissive, quiet little women like the immigrant wives of J.D. Vance, of even the POTUS with the pedo for a P. Their silence of those immigrant women, seeing the abuses that are happening to children, to women, and they stay silent. They're worse than their husbands. Those women are worse than their husbands. So when I'm president, my cabinet is going to be comprised of alpha women. I want to terrify the hell out of these little beta boy bitches. And yeah, I said the word, sorry. I want the top women, the alpha women, to put these little beta boys in their places. Because they're cowards. That's all they are. And they need to be put in their places by you ladies. I was raised by alpha women. I know who you are. I know your strength. My grandmother was a little spitfire of a woman who ran our family with an iron fist. Everything had to go through her. Everything had to be approved through her. From the meals prepared at weekend gatherings, to where they were held, to where the vacations were, to who went to what vacation when. My grandmother had to have a hand in it. Those are the women they fear. The women that, like the CDC woman, who said, I ain't going to rubber stamp that nonsense, that ignorance, that lack of scientific-based opinion that you want me to say is fact. I ain't going to do it. The alpha woman with the jobs report that said, these are the numbers. And beta boy said, oh, no, I don't like that number. You're not lying for me. Because it's governance fueled by ignorance and hatred. And we're going to put an end to that. We're going to lead through love and intelligence, because we see the countries out there that lead through love and intelligence, and we see how their communities prosper, how their people prosper. Because we don't need a nation that's rich. We need a nation that's prosperous. And you measure prosperity by the lack of chaos, by the lack of military on your streets, by the lack of poverty, by the lack of homelessness, by the lack of hunger, by the lack of children being massacred in schools, in churches. Canada has not had one child murdered in a school. Not one. We have them every day. It's in the news for a day or two, then glossed over, and oh well, the cost of having guns, it's the cost of being an American. If you don't want children, don't have them. If you don't want your children slaughtered, don't have them. Because what else can they be saying if you continue to ignore the problem? Because ignorance and hatred are stronger than love and intelligence. I'm George Delara. I want to be your next president. Not a billionaire, not a millionaire, not a career politician, not a lawyer. I'm a regular American, middle of the road American, just like you. No, I don't want babies murdered for the dumbasses who are going to go there right away. No, I don't think grown-ass men should be playing women's sports. But in a nation of freedom, there are always compromises, because in nature, yes, there are only 2 chromosomes, but there are an enormous amount of variations, scientifically proven variations of human existence. So maybe something like we do with children's sports. You don't have a 6'2", 250-pound 12-year-old playing football against 110 and 90-pound 12-year-olds. So something like that would probably make more sense than just blanket bans and restrictions and eliminations of certain things. And I'll tell you why I feel that way, because I coached youth sports, baseball, for many years. I played baseball for over 40 years. And I've seen the difference. I coached 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. All right? And specifically, when you're going from 10 and under to 12 and under, there's a marked difference that starts to show. Testosterone is no joke. And you see these sweet little boys who were, thin and demure last season, come in next season and they're as tall as you are, and they gained 30 pounds in this time of, in a year. You can't control that. There's something that we say in coaching. There are 2 things that you can't coach: size and speed. You either have them or you don't. You can get a little faster, but you're not going to get bigger. You're not going to be a lot faster. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. There has to be some type of a compromise. Even in something that divisive and that volatile a subject. So love and intelligence is what I bring to the table. Decision making through the lens of love and intelligence. What makes your life better? Because I have no association to corporate America, no association to tech, no association to a government, to political parties. I only love you. My only devotion is you, the American people, because I've said it in many videos. The only purpose of government is to make the lives better of its people. All its people, Not just the ones who can afford it, not just the ones who voted for you, not just the ones in the color state you like. All the people. And that's what I propose. A president who is directly out of we the people. Someone like you, like your dad, like your grandfather, like your mom, like your aunt. I say someone who has had to struggle is a lot more qualified than someone who has everything handed to them and never had to make a difficult decision in their lives outside of, do I kill people or do I not? That's not leadership. We need a country that's prosperous, not rich. And you measure the prosperity by the lack of poverty, the lack of homelessness, the lack of hunger, and the lack of ignorance and hatred for itself, for its own people. So that's what we're going to build. We're going to build a country of love and intelligence, a country that embraces the God-given diversity that is in all parts of nature, because as far as I know, we are part of nature ourselves. It's not revolutionary. It's not crazy. It's crazy and impossible that a brown, poor man can want to be the president of the United States of America, the greatest country in the world, the greatest democracy the world has ever known, currently under attack by a group of cowardly, pathetic, sniveling, beta boy cowards aimed at ending the Founding Fathers' vision and imposing a Castro, Putin-style autocratic, ignoramus dictatorship, techno-fueled by ignorance and hatred. For you, for regular Americans, for the American people. And that's not what the Founding Fathers wanted. That's not the Founding Fathers' vision of a beacon of freedom and democracy to the entire world. They had to put stuff in that document that I'm sure a lot of them didn't agree with. Assigning percentages to human lives, to human being. I'm sure they all weren't in agreement with that. But some of them were. Some of them wouldn't sign unless they put that language in there. So because they used the democratic principle, they came to a compromise. And they put some pretty fucked up things in the document that they probably wouldn't have done if they all agreed. But it's not a dictatorship. It was a democracy. The document itself is a democratic process, a compromise in design and written to grow, to adjust, to change with its population, with the redeeming value, overriding value, that freedom is the number one thing. And respect for that document is what America is. You have people who do not respect the Constitution, who believe in some draconian Christian nation, control-driven ignorance. That's not what the Founding Fathers wanted. So once again, I just start to talk and I say way too much and it goes way too long. But I'm George Delara. I want to be your next president. Not a billionaire, not a millionaire, not a career politician. Never run for public office, never wanted to be president of anything other than the work that I create, the love that I put into what I do. I have no interest in accumulating wealth. The $400,000 a year is more than enough for me to build a wealth for the rest of my family forever, just based on my intelligence. I don't need to insider trade. I'm not going to do any of that. And I'm going to make sure it stops, above all. And we need to create opportunities for intelligence to enter public office. not continue to scrape the bottom of the barrel like we've been doing. We can't do that. We can't do that anymore. So I'm proposing that college graduates, top high school seniors, before they go into college or as part of their college, they serve in their local police stations, police departments for at least a year, maybe 2 years. And I think that's going to go a long way, because what's going to happen is a lot of them are going to decide they like being police officers and working for the community, and they're going to stay. And that alone is going to bring in better people and more intelligent people. Remove some of these slapped around beta boys from middle school who got beat up every day and then had no choice but to become a cop. They give them a gun, a badge, and unleash them onto communities, unsuspecting communities, who think they're being protected, and instead have unleashed a sociopath just because they don't have the resources, don't have great people applying for those jobs. So we're going to create a mechanism to bring talented individuals into our communities. God bless you. God bless the American people. Excuse me. Crazy and impossible? Yes, yes, yes. This is crazy. This is crazy, crazy and impossible. That a brown, poor, marginally educated, marginally talented brown man who just loves this country would want to be president of the United States. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy and impossible. But that crazy and impossible has gotten you, my beautiful, diverse American family. My eyes water because it makes me emotional. Have shared my words to hundreds of thousands of people generically, just you guys, bro. Hasn't been the oligarchy, hasn't been the algorithm, because the algorithm is actively blocking me. I had a post get 1,000 views within an hour, and in the past 3 days, it's gotten 5. That's not by coincidence. That is because they don't want the voices of free Americans to be heard. They want you just to get the indoctrination that dictatorships thrive on. And like I said, I might have a different view just because of my Cuban heritage. My family did not march for Fidel, did not applaud Fidel. My family was out of Cuba from 1946. My father served in the U.S. Army, and then as a military contractor, as a private contractor. So we do not understand how anyone would accept autocratic dictatorship. But we're not going to accept it here. We're not gonna allow the same bullshit, ignorance, and hatred that destroyed the Pearl of the Caribbean and made it into this isolationist, ignorant, autocratic jail, for lack of a better word, because it is a jail to its residents, to its citizens, to the most beautiful people on the planet, which is the Cuban community, the Cuban people. Some of the most beautiful women on the world are trapped on that island. Some of the most handsome, talented individuals, the most talented musicians, artists, are trapped because of autocratic ignorance and hatred for their own people. Because that's what my grandfather used to call la ley del embudo, the ley of the funnel. Wide at the top, narrow at the bottom. And now they're even choking off that bottom part even more. Because it's greed, ignorance, and hatred. So we're gonna change that. I'm gonna change that. If you the American people decide that you want a president who's directly out of we the people, a president whose sole intention and sole purpose is to make your life better, not corporations, not the 1%, not billionaires, not foreign countries, because Israel has free health care that you don't, and you pay for it with your tax dollars. That makes no sense. So we're going to change a few things. We're going to change things to make your life in control of your future. Put your life in your hands to control your future. And like I said, and I'll say it again, the only purpose of government is to make the lives better of its residents. All its residents. We the people means we the people. Every single one of us. Every single one of you are who I love. I don't care the color of your skin. I don't care where you came from. I don't care how you came into the country. I care that you love this country. And that power, that strength of God's, of nature's diversity is what we need to return to embracing. We need to return to empowering. Happened for a short time and we're on our way. But Beta Boys, who are afraid of everyone, decided they don't want a level playing field. And this is what's happening. This is what they do. They're fear-mongering cowards whose biggest fear is women. So my cabinet will be comprised of alpha women. I'm going to make them sweat. God bless you guys. God bless the American people. We the people, baby. We the people.